As ominous clouds gathered over Buckingham Palace, an extraordinary meeting was convened. King Charles, driven by an unyielding resolve, was poised to make decisions that could fracture the very foundation of the monarchy. Before we go deeper into what this really means for the royal family, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single update. What compelled him to gather his family behind closed doors, and what secrets lurked in the corridors of power. In the heart of London, shrouded beneath a sky heavy with impending rain, the palace stood like an ancient sentinel. Behind its grandiose facade, a dimly lit royal chamber buzzed with tension, its walls seeming to hold the breath of history. The stage was set, not for a king's feast, but a gathering fraught with the weight of centuries-old legacies. A summons had been issued, a call so urgent, accompanied by a silence so profound, that it rattled even the most stalwart of the royals. The usual pomp and ceremony was stripped away, leaving behind an air of a political thriller, each second ticking away, echoing the pulse of a nation holding its collective breath. Rumours, thick as the mist hovering over the Thames, circulated within the hallowed halls of the palace. Changes were coming, seismic in their implications, capable of tilting the axis on which the monarchy precariously balanced. The mysterious meeting drew the curiosity of those within and beyond the palace gates. Whispers swirled like eddies in a stream, suggesting that ancient foundations might soon be tested. This was not a mere family gathering. No, it was something more. It was an accounting, a gathering of power and shadow, where the ghosts of the past were resurrected to confront the future. But it was at the human level, beneath the golden crests and stately portraits, that the true story unfolded. Beneath the polished veneer of royal duty, long smouldering embers of family history crackled back into life. Personal rivalries, stoked by decades of formal civility, now bubbled to the surface with renewed intensity. Old wounds whispered in the corridors, unbidden yet impossible to ignore, as if the palace itself yearned for release from the weight pressing upon it. Here, amidst the regal tapestries and muted whispers, the undercurrents of emotions swirled, threatening to tear apart what tradition had long held together. As the hourglass dripped its grains of sand with measured patience, the nation remained ensnared in the tantalizing suspense of the moment. The world outside, oblivious to the storm brewing behind palace doors, carried on with the rhythm of daily life. Yet, those privy to the summons knew something monumental was afoot. The moment hovered, a breath held in anticipation of revelation, as King Charles steeled himself for the unraveling tale of dynasty and destiny. As the door to their secrets closed, the stage was set for a royal reckoning that would reverberate around the world. With the gravity of a sovereign in turmoil, King Charles delivered a decision so profound it threatened to redefine the future of the monarchy. Why would a king risk such dissent within his own bloodline? And what were the stakes of this radical course of action? As whispers of this unprecedented move spread through the gilded corridors of the palace, King Charles found himself alone in the tranquility of the king's study, lost in a tempest of thoughts. The weight of his crown had never felt heavier, and the room, thick with the silence of centuries past, seemed to hold its breath. The balance between duty and personal conviction wavered like the flickering candle flames around him. For countless nights, he wrestled with the ghostly echoes of past monarchs who once sat in his stead. Duty demanded preserving the dignity of the crown, but the needs of the nation cried out for innovation, for change. In the quiet recesses of his mind, the faces of his forebears judged him silently, their regal portraits casting long shadows on his sleepless nights. But with these ghosts lingered the burden of leadership, an inheritance heavy with expectation yet tempered by his own conscience. Thus, when King Charles emerged from his introspective battle, the world witnessed the revelation that rocked the bedrock of monarchy. A royal decree echoed through the ages. 3 distinguished royal titles were stripped, a proclamation as relentless as a storm hammering upon the cliffs of tradition. The Grand Hall bore silent witness to each syllable spoken with measured gravity, every word falling like a stone into the placid waters of royal decorum. The ink was barely dry upon the parchment when gasps reverberated through the assembled audience of nobility. Faces that once shone with the gleam of certainty now bore the unmistakable mark of betrayal. Eyes met, searching for explanations in a realm where none could be comfortably found. Sorrow mingled with disbelief, etching lines of anguish into foreheads, leaving the air thick with unspoken questions. What treachery had so blackened the stones of the kingdom? Speculation brewed like an ancient spell, weaving through the court with deft fingers, touching every soul with a whispered urgency. Did shadows of past indiscretions come to haunt the palace, imperiling those who believed themselves untouchable? Or were they casualties in a struggle for loyalty, a bid to sever ties that threatened the integrity of the crown? Could it perhaps be the king's calculated gambit to thrust the ancient institution into the modern age, where the echoes of the past could no longer dictate the cadence of today? Each hypothesis carried its own resonant echo within the chamber's ancient walls, but none fit with certainty. The long shadow of history stood in the wings, a solemn observer of this spectacle, conjured forth to parallel the decisions of Henry VIII, a king inscribed in infamy, despite the centuries that dulled his verdant glare. Charles's choice, though cloaked in the complexities of a new era, resonated with the echoes of those discordant notes of history, fraying the invisible cord that bound them to a lineage of ancient legacies. Tradition clattered upon the marble floor, among modern sensibilities that strained to meet the needs of a changing monarchy. Now trembling on the fulcrum of transformation, an air of finality settled over the kingdom like a mourning shroud, a new reality accepted with a forced nod, but beneath that thin veneer lay the simmering pot of dissent. The tremors of King Charles's compulsion to alter the kingdom's landscape could not be stilled by mere decree. Beyond the eye of the storm, his people murmured restlessly, hearts yet unwilling to yield to such irrevocable change. As the echoes of decree reverberated in the chamber, loyalties blistered, hinting at undercurrents that surged beyond the palace walls. Never before had the sovereignty of one king been so starkly pitted against the realm itself, igniting rumbles that would reach far beyond the crenellated towers, into the very heart of the monarchy's future. In the aftermath of the shocking decision, whispers of betrayal coursed through the royal veins. Who among them had acted against the crown, and who stood firm amidst the growing maelstrom of distrust and fear? The palace was thick with tension, each corridor a saint, age for clandestine murmurs. Husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, once a unified bastion of regal solidarity, now exchanged furtive glances, weary of whom they might encounter around the next opulent corner. The grand tapestries bore silent witness to these tales of treachery, their threads entangled with the anguish and betrayal of a dynasty thrown into disarray. It was in these whispered shadows that the true psychology of betrayal began to unravel like a poorly kept secret. At the heart of this brewing storm was a rupture like no other. Familial bonds, once forged in the fires of shared power and lineage, now felt the strain of secrets best kept hidden. Every shared look and hushed exchange seemed a prelude to treachery. Trust became a fleeting commodity. Stitch by stitch, the fabric of royal unity was being unpicked, leaving behind disparate threads of resentment. A word spoken too softly here, a glance held too long there. All could spell disaster in this delicate ecosystem of allegiance and ambition. Every movement was analysed, every sentence passed for hidden meanings that might betray an intent contrary to the crown. Amidst these silent theories, the king stood alone, a solitary figure, isolated amongst his closest kin, uncertain of who still cherished the sacred oath and who was poised with a dagger of betrayal. Such was the depth of this crisis that it was whispered some among them had forewarned the king, influencing decisions critical to the survival of the monarchy. But who? This question echoed in the minds of many an uncertain courtier, amplifying the shroud of suspicion over a paranoid realm. Vulnerable, perhaps even naive allegiances seemed to sway, tilting precariously in the capricious breeze of self-preservation. An advisor's quiet word or a consort's impassioned plea carried weight like never before. Shadows of influence cast long over deeds, and decrees capable of breaking bonds forged by centuries of lineage and loyalty. Whose voice had been the feather that tipped the scales during the fateful council? Broken promises from the past found their way back to the forefront of royal consciousness, dormant grievances reawakened by the touch of the present crisis. Fractures appeared where strength once lay, tempting old hatreds and rivalries to surface like volcanic fury, threatening to ignite the long-standing tensions that lurked beneath the surface. Fault lines spread from the cracks that were thought to be healed, old wounds reopening under the pressure of the present discord. Actions meant to bolster unity instead inflamed the insatiable desire for retribution, a siren call for those royals who saw opportunity within chaos. Amidst this turbulent scene, intimate revelations unfolded. Some of the royals, it seemed, had indeed leveraged this unstable time for personal gain, seeking to expand influence and cunningly shift power. It became a delicate dance of subtlety and subterfuge, where the endgame was as much about survival as it was about supremacy. In this theatre of enmity, the seeds of rebellion began to sprout, nurtured by those who felt aggrieved and marginalized, longing to make their mark as architects of a new order. The palace had become a crucible of political ambivalence. As the shadow of suspicion spread, the palace became a chessboard of intrigue and silent warfare, unraveling the bonds once thought unbreakable. As the heart of the monarchy quaked, the emotional fallout became painfully evident. Brothers, sisters, cousins, the shared blood that once united them now burned hot with betrayal, and the spirit of division loomed perilously close. In the gilded corridors of the palace, accusations ran as rampant as whispers, and the air was thick with an inescapable tension. Despite the elegance and majesty that veiled the royal family in the public eye, an internal unraveling had begun, a bitter battle of wills that was turning day into night and kin into adversaries. These tales of turmoil bled into personal encounters of grief and rage. A trusted prince confronted his sister, pleading for a semblance of the bond they once shared. Her eyes, once soft with the warmth of sibling camaraderie, now sharped with the resentful edge of betrayal. Their voices shattered the stillness of the royal chamber. He accused, she deflected, their quarrels echoed down the ancient halls, leaving scars no crown could conceal. Attempts at reconciliation crumbled like ancient parchment, fragile and destined for dust. Even the most heartfelt gestures, gifts, tearful apologies were met with cold silence or a look of disdain. Love, in its deepest form, shriveled under the oppressive shadow of broken trust. Beyond the immediate lineage, the children and heirs, mere pawns in this brutal chess game, faced the cruelest blow. Innocence was lost in the corridors of power, where curtains of gold failed to shield young minds from the whisperings of changing tides. Their laughter, once a joyous melody within the palace walls, now faltered, drowning beneath the pressure of expectations and the looming weight of spilt blood. Generational repercussions spiraled, pulling even the youngest into storms another began. Those who should have wielded toys and dreamt of innocence were instead thrust into the quagmire of political machinations and familial strife. Amidst this tempest, the sobbing royals found themselves torn between the twin pillars that defined their existence. Loyalty to kin and allegiance to the mighty yet unforgiving crown. In confidential alcoves, they wrestled with their souls, seeking solace in the tear-stained pages of personal diaries that became their only refuge. These diaries, 9, arrayed an internal chaos, pages trembling with the confessions of royals, caught in an unholy sacrament of duty versus love. Yet, it was the secret letters that told the darkest tales, correspondence resurrected by palace insiders. With each word, they laid bare the entangled ferocity of hearts, embroiled in both purpose and vengeance. As night fell upon this fractured realm, a cliffhanger lingered, an ominous harbinger of bombs, fraying to the brink of irreparable damage. All eyes turned inward, searching for the last vestiges of something which once promised unity, but now feared to deliver nothing but despair. The emotional storm raged, and as the palace walls absorbed their cries, a new spectre threatened the kingdom, a spectre of uncrowned heirs and unresolved grievances. Beyond the gilded gates, a nation stunned by revelations began its reckoning. Public opinion teetered between revolution and reverence. Would this fracture signal the twilight of royalty, or would a newfound resilience rise from the ashes? The streets, once silent, save for the occasional patter of distant rain, now thrummed with a vibrant, impassioned energy. Waving banners and fiery speeches converged in the air, transforming bustling squares into agora of protest and debate. The cries of the disenfranchised filled the kingdom with a chorus of discontent. Not long ago, the mystery surrounding the throne had been an enigmatic allure, an untouchable dance of secrets and grandeur. Now, the intrigue had morphed into indignation, the velvet robes transformed into a glaring target for the sharp arrows of public scrutiny. In editorials that crackled with the intensity of a midsummer thunderstorm, writers and commentators painted a landscape divided. Traditionalists, bound by ancestral loyalty, insisted on the sanctity of the crown, a symbol, they argued, that knit the very fabric of their national identity. Meanwhile, others, emboldened spirits, longing for liberation and progress, questioned the relevance of the hierarchy upon which their forebears had gazed with awe. Heated exchanges filled the airwaves and illuminated digital pages, fanning the flames of a kingdom at a crossroads. Friends turned adversaries, families split at dinner tables as allegiance to throne and a yearning for republicanism clashed like warriors in an epic battlefield. In the court of public opinion, the essence of loyalty was weighed against the virtues of change, a complex trial that matched the splendor of any royal engagement. Adding another layer to this fevered tableau stood the media, part hero, part heretic. As the nation wrestled with its conscience, journalists danced on the edge of revelation and sensationalism, columns both illuminated and obfuscated, casting shadows where clarity once stood. On one hand, they served as heralds of truth, courageously challenging the status quo. Yet, as cameras sharpened their focus, the line between genuine insight and voyeurism blurred uncomfortably. Each headline shaped the narrative, whether through deliberate intention or tangled ramifications, weaving a story that was as polarizing as it was pivotal. Amidst this cacophony, voices from each faction pierced through, bathed in the raw light of undulability. Monarchists clung fervently to their dreams of opulence and continuity, their eyes gleaming with nostalgia for a golden past where the whisper of treason was a foreign tongue. Royal watchers, blending a wistful sadness with begrudging admiration, chronicled every twist with a dedication matched only by their uncertainty. Republicans, however, spoke with the courage of conviction, their calls for renewal echoing through the kingdom like a clarion call for the brave new world. The divisions, so long concealed beneath the surface, now sprawled openly in front of an observant world. Each personal testimony an emotional tide, at times warming, often scorching, engulfing the onlookers in empathetic waves. While speculation burgeoned, experts pieced together survival strategies, crafting fragile lifelines out of historical precedents and socio-political forecasts. Anticipating the storm, they scribbled calculated conjectures. Could an evolved monarchy embrace transparency, perhaps align with modern ideals, thus securing its legacy? Or would these echoes of ancient regality fade into an antiquated, dusky silhouette? Predictions darted across minds like swallows at dusk, swift, graceful, but ultimately intangible. Each opinion formed a narrative thread, a prophetic whisper in a growing tapestry, unsure of its final shape. A collective holding of breath accompanied their discussions, a suspended pause as palpable as the silence after a symphony's final note. The weight of choice hung heavy, a dramatic pendulum swinging ominously over a kingdom that anxiously awaited its future. As the cries of the people echoed through the realm, the stage was set for an unexpected rendezvous with destiny, a monarchy on the precipice of transformation. Beneath the polished veneer of royal existence, hidden files were discovered that sent shockwaves through the palace. What masked truths had lain dormant in secret vaults, and who held the keys to the kingdom's darkest enigmas? Whispers of unease rippled through the corridors, the marble floors echoing with secrets long buried beneath the weight of history. These confidential documents, guarded for generations, were now laid bare, revealing delicate threads that linked past decisions to the chaos that now consumed the royal court. As the paper crinkled under eager fingers, stories of enigmatic liaisons and forbidden pacts slowly unfurled. It was as if a tapestry spun from shadows was unraveled, one shocking revelation at a time. Each page told a tale of clandestine meetings held under the cloak of night, agreements forged in the dim glow of candlelight. Within these pages were the musings and correspondences of figures shrouded in mystery and the veiled intentions they harbored. The ancient ink painted a chilling picture, an intricate web of whispers that spoke of power plays and unyielding ambitions. Among them were letters marked only by initials, hinting at alliances scarcely conceivable, engagements rooted not in love, but in manipulation, and betrayals that cut deeper than any blade. Murmurs of scandal floated through the air as the monarchy's pristine image began to crack, revealing a narrative far richer and more treacherous than any courtly ballad. In the heart of this storm of revelation lay a tantalizing question: who among the trusted inner circle had dared to breach the walls of trust to leak such vital information? Speculation ran rife, each theory as provocative as the last, as motives were examined under the harsh light of scrutiny. Was it idle spite or noble intent that drove these whispers to escape the grasp of secrecy? The consequences of such an exposure were vast, their rippling effects threatening to redesign the very fabric of the realm's governance. Some claimed it was a bid to cleanse the monarchy of its gilded rot, while others saw it as a strategic masterstroke aimed at realigning allegiances in a kingdom chafing at its own restraints. Amidst these revelations, the spectre of a bygone era loomed, a time when the stripping of titles began to take its ominous root. Tantalizing hints in the discovered files suggested that motivations for such devastating actions reached back further than any dared to speculate. The historians could see its echoes, the harbingers of a storm that had been gathering over decades, silently shaping the present-day power struggles. These truths were not mere footnotes of history, but seismic undercurrents that could fracture the monarchy's reign. In this meticulous dance between information and misinformation, the sway of power was dissected with a surgeon's precision. The weight of knowledge stood balanced against ignorance's anesthesia, each piece of uncovered data a lever altering destinies in dramatic cascades. Through these revelations, the very essence of authority was questioned, revealing society's reliance on a delicate balance of truth and fabrication. And yet, just as the drama appeared to reach the pinnacle of its arc, a veil of suspense cloaked the final revelation, one poised to forever change the monarchy's narrative. As the veil of secrecy lifted and hidden truths surfaced, the tense atmosphere hinted at a crescendo that would redefine history. The final confrontation awaited. As the familial saga reached its boiling point, the final showdown threatened to split the monarchy in two. The war of words erupted within the hallowed halls where kings and queens once stood unified. Beneath the gilded chandeliers, amid frescoes whispering ancient tales, estranged siblings turned their simmering resentment into a cacophony of pain. Accusations flung like arrows pierced the silence, each syllable a dagger revealing the raw, unhealed wounds festering for years. Their voices crescendoed into a symphony of heartache, each note echoing the bitter dance between duty and desire. Tears shimmered unshed as familial bonds bent, groaning under the weight of unspoken truths and unhealed scars. In the eye of this storm stood the king, his crown a heavy burden, his heart torn in two. Duty to the crown clashed violently with the love he bore for his children. It was the ultimate kingship trial, a crucible of choices that would forge his reign's legacy. His intent-ruled struggle raged fiery and tumultuous, threatening to consume his very soul. Betrayed by blood and besieged by betrayal, he faced a moment of reckoning. The palace seemed to pulse with the rhythm of his heart, pounding against the inexorable march of history. The family council assembled in grandeur, only to dissolve into chaos. Alliances that once seemed unbreakable shattered like crystal underfoot. Loyalty shifted, revealing truths hidden in the shadows of the throne's grandeur. Personal betrayals unfurled like banners in a storm, exiling trust and belied intentions. In this room, secrets were laid bare, the barriers of decorum scorched away until nothing remained but the essence of betrayal itself. A kingdom trembled as the fragility of royal unity was exposed. Then came the moment of renunciation. One by one, vows once sacred were relinquished with trembling hands and stony resolve. The regal tapestries seemed to sigh as the last vestiges of unity dissolved beneath overwrought declarations. Each departure etched a scar into the kingdom's heart. A family riven asunder, pledges made in the innocence of youth fell like autumn leaves, the empty echoes of what once was reverberating off ancient stones and echoing into an uncertain future. The ramifications loomed vast and daunting. In the aftermath of this reckoning emerged new realities, not just within the stone walls, but stretching far beyond. Culturally, the ripples would shake the very foundation of tradition, casting long shadows across the hearts of those who once believed in an unshakable dynasty. The dynastic line now lay vulnerable, the future uncertain like fragile porcelain. On a personal level, scars would never fade completely, a reminder of the saga that nearly tore a family apart. A cliffhanger lingered, pregnant with possibility. Would the monarchy withstand this storm, or would a new order rouged from the ashes? The final promise hung in the air, a whisper in the wind of changing times. In the crucible of their own making, they would find their mettle tested like never before. The echoes of their decisions would reverberate through corridors of power, perhaps announcing a dawn that would either renew or eclipse the past. As their tears fell upon the palace floors, only one question remained. Could the monarchy emerge from within the crucible of its own making unscathed? In the rippling wake of shattered conventions, the kingdom stood at a crossroads, with the echoes of reverberating change still whispering in the ears of its people. A collective breath was held. The clamour of discord had given way to a contemplative hush, wherein lay the opportunity to sculpt a brighter future, a future that begged the question, what should rise from the remnants of what once was? In the royal halls, the monarchy began to bear the weight of introspection like a crown, enlightening them with newfound clarity. The shift was palpable. The old guards of tradition turned stewards of a more inclusive narrative. Conversations brimmed with purpose, transforming corridors from echo chambers of old grievances to forges of understanding and acceptance. Their whispers, barely audible, spoke of realms anew, wherein titles would not solely dictate one's contributions, and every royal beat of the heart would align with the nation's pulse. Crucial to this evolution was the rebuilding of familial connections, once frayed but now diligently tended. In quiet alcoves and beneath ancient tapestries, intimate reconciliations unfolded, peeling back layers of mistrust. These tender exchanges were as healing as they were humbling. Royal hands once clenched in resolve now found solace clasped together, promising unity and nobility in the sincerest of forms. Love and loyalty had not been extinguished, but tested, and their renewed vows whispered of forgiveness and freshman starts. Adaptation became the monarchy's creed. With a foot strong in tradition, they embraced the modern world's demands with grace and optimism. Royal roles, unshackled from antiquated expectancy, began to take on shapes harmonious with an ever-evolving society. Advocates of causes pressing and noble, champions of voices quietened too long. Their metamorphosis, both inspired by necessity and fueled by renewed duty, recast them as guardians, not of prestige, but of purpose. Historians peering through the prism of time summoned the past for counsel. They found familiarity in former storms, weathered eras of immense upheaval, offset by the birth of transformative legacies. Those who steered history's course whispered to the present. Possibility lay not in the rejection of history, but in its mindful embrace, entwining lessons of old to possibilities anew. This iteration of the monarchy, vulnerable, reflective, resolved, could emerge a beacon of resilience. Public sentiment, too, began to swell with new emotion. Once muted voices rose in anthems of renewal, finding substance in a monarchy aligned with the future as much as its storied past. In city squares and country parishes, they shared their dreams of a kingdom defined not by its riches or status, but by the integrity of its promises. The people dreamt aloud, speaking truths and hopes into being, an echoing dialogue with ancient walls that had witnessed much and would see more rivulets of history unspool. As the sun timidly punctured the morning haze, its golden fingers kissed the facets of the kingdom, illuminating more than stone and palace. It unveiled the quiet promise, strewn across a landscape poised to converge history with the promise of the not yet written. With unity, peace, and understanding sketched broadly across royal and common hearts, they bridged the chasm between what had been and what could emerge, steadfast in crafting a legacy, not just to be inherited, but to be cherished. And as dew faded under this radiant hope, so did the shadows of past eras. The dawn held the oath of a monarchy renewed, not eclipsed but rising, not whole but healing, a land ready, both reverent and aspirational, embraced its future, cherishing the metamorphosis of a timeless tale into a story ripe with redemption and brimming with purpose. Perhaps here, in this moment of renewal, lay the kingdom's rightful rebirth,